Right, let's have a chat about carnivore. So my story is, well, firstly I'll just tell you I'm getting my steps in here, so I'm just pacing up and down my garden, but I just thought I'd make a video at the same time. And if you see a little Weimaraner puppy running about in the background, that's Ozzy. That's another story. We've had him for a couple of weeks now. Just pre-warning you in case you see a little grey idiot running about. That's Ozzy. Anyway, so carnivore. So basically, I started carnivore on January 3rd, 2025. So January 3rd this year. Got to that point in January where, you know what it's like, just after Christmas, New Year, especially here in the UK, you know, just overconsumption of processed foods, carbs, just absolute junk, to be honest. Feeling like absolute crap. Plus, another thing that brought me to carnivore was I was having a discussion with my wife one night. Unfortunately, we've lost a few family members. As you get older, you know, you start to lose people, unfortunately. So a few family members, some close friends. And the most common thing that we were losing people to was cancer. So that prompted a discussion between me and my wife, just around cancer. And you know how rife it is in this day and age. The crux of it, we're basically talking about, you know, what is causing cancer. I know cancer's been about a lot of years, but just honestly seems to be absolutely rife at the moment. You know, after a long conversation with my wife, and she works in pharma for Big Pharma, we came to the conclusion that it can only be, or one of the biggest contributing factors to cancer in this day and age has got to be the foods we consume. You know, the Western or the standard American diet, as it's called. You know, processed foods, sugars, carbs, just junk, seed oils, all that sort of stuff. So anyway, going off on a tangent. So anyway, I decided 3rd of January, I'm going to change the way I am. But at the age of 52, just feeling absolute crap. I decided this can't go on, so plucked up the courage and jumped on the scales for the first time in about 2 years, because I knew I'd been putting on weight over the last probably decade, to be honest. Scared to jump on the scales, but plucked up the courage, jumped on the scales, and I was absolutely horrified. 52 years old and I was 256 pounds, which here in the UK is 18.5 stone. Now I'm 6'1", I am quite big built, but 18.5 stone is still ridiculous, you know. To me anyway. So there and then I decided, right, I had done a bit of research on carnivore. There and then I decided, right, that's me, I'm going on carnivore. So 3rd of January, still remember it. We got a new air fryer for Christmas from my mother and father-in-law. So the first thing I cooked in that, I still remember it, was a heap of linked sausages from the butcher, straight in the air fryer. Had them with some fried eggs, fried in lard, and some bacon. And that was my first meal on carnivore. I'll do future videos on what I've actually eaten over this period. But that was my first meal. Continued that for a week. Got this little thing running. Little Aussie. Yeah, continued for the first week. Weighed myself after a week and I'd lost 7 pounds, which here in the UK is half a stone. And I'm not stupid, I knew that was probably just water weight, you know, from cutting out the carbs, the processed sugars and stuff. But what that does, even losing water weight in the first week, if you stay strict for the first week, you will lose weight, but that provides the motivation to continue. So started a spreadsheet, logged my weight, my initial weight, which was 18.5 stone, 256 pounds. logged what I ate on the first day, and then continued that, you know, day after day. So within that spreadsheet, I've actually logged every single thing I've eaten, good and bad, for the 200-day period that I've been on it. So that gives me some good data for some future videos on what I ate, because that is one of the most common questions you get from what I see in the carnivore community. As I've said, lost 7 pounds in the first week, continued the carnivore way of eating. Second week, weighed myself in, and I'd lost another 5 pounds. So obviously I was delighted with that. So that was 12 pounds in 2 weeks, nearly a stone. So motivation was high, continued for the third week. Same again, just cut out all processed foods, sugars, drunk water, black coffee, stuff like that. End of the third week, weighed myself again, I lost another 5 pounds. So I was down 17 pounds in 3 weeks, which is well over a stone. So basically the pattern continued, where I continued to do that, just didn't change anything, ate the same way. And to this point now, nearly approaching 7 months, I've lost 70 pounds. 70 pounds and, well, that's 5 stone here in the UK. And I've got no plans on stopping the way I'm eating. And I don't class carnivore as a diet, it's a way of life. You do actually, especially at my age, 52, you do actually start to take health a bit more seriously. You know, when you're waking up in the morning all stiff, you can't do as much as you used to. There's a bit of a narrative out there that, oh, it's just you getting old, you've just got to accept it, you know, and get on with it. But take it from me, you don't have to accept it. Take your health seriously. Start a healthier lifestyle, whether it's carnivore or anything else. Lose the weight, and with weight loss comes, you actually want to exercise more. So, you know, now I've implemented walking, that's a big thing for me. I also do a bit of weight training. But again, I'm going off on a tangent. I could do 100 videos on carnivore. You know, all about challenges, food you eat, the reason for doing it, some of the myths that are out there. I've done so much research and my head's just full of, you know, information. Plus the practical side of it from actually doing it and succeeding. Now I don't want this video to be too long, it's just an introduction, but some, you know, tips that I would really give you if you're going to start the carnivore journey. Day one, take photos of yourself, front on, side on, you know, from the rear. Take videos of yourself, because there is periods within this way of life that the scale doesn't move, but your body absolutely changes. You know, you can see it. You can see it if you look back at videos, photos, stuff like that. The next thing is take measurements. So measure your waist, measure your chest, your thighs, measure anything you want, your neck even. Just take some good measurements of yourself. Another thing I done, I took an item of clothing. I had an old shirt that I used to work in corporate. So I had a sort of dress shirt. Hadn't fitted me for years, honestly. I put it on and there was a gaping 4-inch space between the buttons, you know. Yeah, it couldn't get around my belly or my chest, so it was absolutely skin tight, couldn't fasten it. Kept that shirt, as I say, I'll show you that in another video. Now that shirt is like a, you know, a sacker. It's like wearing a sack, you know, it's so loose. But that gives you confidence. You know, clothes is a big thing. If you have items of clothing that are tight, lay them at the side, keep them. And as you're on carnivore, just keep trying on those clothes. Not too often, but you know, try them on. When you're feeling a little bit lighter, you see you have lost weight, try your clothes on. The fit of your clothes is unbelievable. It's unbelievable how your body changes. And with that also gives you confidence. So this way of life, you know, it's a fairly strict and restrictive way of eating. So the key is you always have to try and inspire confidence in yourself. So whether that's looking in the mirror, looking back in videos, photos, I mean, I done a few photos at the beginning of this video. You might be thinking to yourself, who's this prat, you know, taking photos like that? But that's all part of motivation for me. That motivates me to continue. The reason for doing all these things is when you maybe get a sugar craving, you crave some carbs, you feel like coming off the diet, just always think back, think in your mind that, God, I love the way how that clothes fit, I love the way my confidence has risen. Do anything you can to increase your confidence, keep the positivity, keep the motivation, and honestly, you won't want to change anything. As I said earlier in this video, I think there are challenges which I can make lots more videos on, and some tips and tricks to get through them. And hopefully there's some comments in this video, but the people in the comments that are on carnivore or have got experience with it, that's where you get a lot of golden nuggets, you know, information, you know, how people deal with certain issues and things like that. And all we're doing here is trying to get a positive outcome, whether it's confidence, health, you know, that's getting off medication for a lot of people. That's all we're trying to do. So I'll recap. I'm 52 years old, based in the UK, Scotland, as you can probably tell from my accent, and absolutely loving this way of life. And the old obligatory, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, guys. It is really important for the algorithm on YouTube. Thanks for watching, really appreciate it. And it's goodbye from me, and we'll just flip this round. And it's goodbye from this little monkey here. Can we see him? Hey Ozzy! Hey Ozzy, Ozzy! Hey! So, goodbye from me, Barry, and it's goodbye from Ozzy. So, we'll hopefully catch you in the next one, guys. Thanks for watching. Thank you.